So Luke, one of the other major stories that's gone on the past week that I actually wrote about on your website, lukebeasleyShow.com/news, but did not get a chance to cover on my channel, is Tommy Tuberville, our favorite senator from Alabama, finally, after 10 months, released his single-handed stranglehold on like 400 crucial military appointments. Luke, I think it may be that Tommy Tuberville is no longer a walking, talking national security threat. But before I throw it to you, I want to play this clip which kind of breaks down his sudden surrender.
Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville just announced that he is lifting his months-long hold on military promotions, 3-star and below. NBC's Sahil Kapoor is on Capitol Hill for us. Also back with us is Stuart. So Sahil, what did we learn? I understand he did this off camera, just announcing it.
That's right, Chris. This just happened moments ago. It's a major piece of breaking news. Senator Tommy Tuberville, the Alabama Republican, has finally lifted his hold on hundreds of military promotions. This had been in place, this so-called hold, since February, preventing normally routine military promotions, which are approved by unanimous consent in the Senate, from moving forward out of protest for the Pentagon's abortion travel policy. He had insisted that the Pentagon cannot and should not fund travel for those service members trying to go out of state to get an abortion. The Department of Defense vociferously objected to his argument, saying that service members have to be treated equally, that the military decides where to station them, and that they simply could not create discriminatory treatment when it comes to health care for the purpose of a dispute over abortion. This means that over 400 promotions, 3-star and below, can move forward in the Senate. Tommy Tuberville just told this to our colleagues Frank Thorpe and Kate Santelise here in the Senate. Military promotions 4-star and above still need votes in the Senate. So this is not 100% of a back down from Tommy Tuberville, but it's a major retreat from the senator who had insisted he would not back down on this.
So I just want to say, Luke, before I throw it to you, just to provide some context, Tuberville, when they say that he was protesting an abortion policy, just to clarify for those out there who have not been paying super close attention to this, the Pentagon was not paying for abortion or reproductive care. Essentially, it's if service members were stationed in states that had restrictions on reproductive care or outlawed abortions, the DOD would reimburse them for their travel only, if they had to travel out of state to get that sort of crucial care. Okay, that is the basis, that is the predicate for Tommy Tuberville's hold. So with that in mind, what do you think about all this?
And you do have sort of two elements of that. On one end, you have, let's set aside the debate, and then I'll get back to it, over whether or not the DOD has the correct policy, which they do. But even if you disagree with that, the principle of one senator, anytime one senator, because they do this on a unanimous vote, has an issue with a DOD policy, they're going to hold up and harm the lives of all of these military members and then harm our military at large because they want to change a policy. That it can't function that way. Lindsey Graham even said that and said it right to the face in a very angry manner, as he should have been, to Tommy Tuberville. And so that's the principle of it. But even zooming into the specific case here, as was mentioned in the clip you just played, how on earth would it be okay to essentially punish or restrict certain military members' health care because the military stationed them in a particular state? Just a luck of the draw, you get certain type of health care over here, certain type of health care if we station you here, and your life could be harmed more if we station you here. They have to have an equal approach across the board. And the way that on the subject of reproductive care, you make that happen is to, as you mentioned, reimburse for travel. So an outrageous principle on the general subject of this blockade and an outrageous stance on this particular issue.
100%. And for what it's worth, the Justice Department reviewed the policy and they're like, yeah, in our estimation, this is perfectly legal and perfectly constitutional. But Tuberville, to me, Tuberville's actions, which by the way, again, lasted 10 months, okay, reflect how insecure he is on the merits of the case. Rather than as his own fellow Republicans like Lindsey Graham, as you pointed out, even they got so fed up with him over time that they were like, Tommy, if you feel so strongly about this, and many of us do on the Republican side, he said, about abortion, then that needs to be a separate issue. You need to take it up on the merits. We need to have legislative debate over it. Sue the Department of Defense if you think that the policy is illegal or whatever. You're not doing that. You're basically holding the military hostage. And that's also funny when you consider that he's a member of the allegedly pro-military party, Luke, that they're the party that cares about the military and our troops and national defense. And yet in the eyes of many national security experts and veterans, of which, by the way, Tommy Tuberville is not saying that affords you any enhanced degree of righteousness, but I'm saying he's not an expert in the military, nor is he a veteran. But those who are say that he was a walking, talking national security threat, especially when we have two major foreign crises going on, one in Israel and one in Ukraine. And yet he didn't care. Like, he kept saying, I disagree with that. And he kept referring to his former career as a football coach, even though military experts were saying, listen, this is a national security threat. So to me, it's like all of this is so preposterous. Anything to say on that?
I get so mad. I know some people have now kind of become immune to the hypocrisy or just to the blatant violations of these principles. And time and time again, us learning, all these debates we had about, no, we are the pro-military party. That's why one of the reasons I'm a Republican would be an argument. Let me engage with that. I think actually they shouldn't be able to exclusively take the label of pro-military or pro the troops. And it didn't matter. Just like how we were talking about previously with Trump. These principles don't matter the second that there's some reason that they have to violate it. Boom, gone. No, not pro-military party. Tommy Tuberville, not pro-military. Because as you were talking about, instead of trying to, if he really was motivated to, change the policy in a way that was logical, he took it out on the military members. That's what that was just taking out his rage over this policy, over people who didn't decide on that policy. And then taking out on really our entire country as a whole, making us less safe by harming the military. And so it really does get me so enraged because it's him as an individual, what he was doing, the way that he was impacting people that I'm super close to, and also just the reminder that these debates we have over their purported principles, why do we even waste time with that? Because they don't actually abide by them.
Their shamelessness is their superpower. And speaking of shameless, I got to refer you to how Tommy Tuberville characterized him releasing the hold on these military appointments, because I think his interpretation and our interpretation differ wildly. So check the clip out.
That you didn't achieve exactly what you set out to do, that the policy is still in place.
It was pretty much a draw. I mean, they didn't get what they wanted, we didn't get what we wanted, and when you change the rules, it's hard to win. And so they changed the NDAA rules. We didn't get to fight for it to leave it in the Senate, and so just unfortunate the American people didn't get a voice.
Do you mind just stating what you said off camera real quick, just what's going to happen?
What just happened?
Yeah, just like a quick
I'm releasing everybody. I still got a hold on, I think, 11 four-star generals. Everybody else is completely released from me. Now somebody else there's a few other people got holds on 1 or 2 or 3 people. But other than that, it's over. Thank you.
Josiah, why are some people so aggravating? He says the American people didn't get a voice. I'm just sad the American people didn't get a voice. What are you talking about? First of all, they voted 81 million strong in favor of Joe Biden running the executive branch. This is a part of his administration getting to do the things that the American people has empowered it to do. And the American people, polling wise, is very much in favor of abortion rights. And when even in red states, it's on the ballot, abortion rights, that is, time and time again, your position is rejected. So
Kansas, Kentucky,
what are you
Ohio.
talking about?
Yeah, no, 100%. And the sheer cope that is radiating off Tommy Tuberville when she asked a perfectly fair question, and I don't think it was baiting. I don't think it was insulting. She's like, hey, do you have any regrets? I mean, this went on for 10 months. You didn't get the outcome you wanted. And what's interesting is if you watch the clip, it seems like he starts to answer sincerely. He starts to stammer through an answer. And then he's like, well, actually, no, it was kind of a draw. It was pretty much a draw. It's like, he he wanted to rescind that travel reimbursement policy from the DoD. And the Democrats did not want to rescind it, and they wanted to get those 400 military promotions. So it's like Luke, if you and I have a disagreement and you get virtually everything you want, and I get basically nothing I want, it's kind of like a draw.
No, actually, Tuberville's right. You got to, for 10 months, punish military members for your incorrect stance. And we had to sit back and watch that. And then now we're finally, I guess, getting what we want. And he said, quote, I mean, they didn't get, so after saying it's pretty much a draw, he said, they didn't get what they wanted and we didn't get what we wanted. What is it that they wanted? They wanted our military to continue functioning as it's supposed to. They wanted military families to have an answer on what the heck's going to happen. They wanted people to not have to be working like two, sometimes, I think there was one guy working the equivalent of like 3 jobs because his deputy couldn't be confirmed. That's what
he had a heart attack.
And then had a heart attack. Yeah. That's what we wanted. So he has some gall.
He does. He has some gumption. You know,
gumption.
Luke. I will also say for clarity here, and this should go to show you how aggravated everybody was with him in the Senate. So he talked about a rule change after 10 months, because Democrats have a slight majority in the Senate, but the rules, like you said at the beginning of the video, unanimous consent. Any single senator can obstruct these promotions, and doing them manually would take ungodly amounts of time, hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, eat up all Senate time. And I think Democrats did the right thing by not capitulating to Tuberville's ransom there. But it got so bad, Luke, that even Kyrsten Sinema got to the point where she was ready to change the rules to basically sideline Tommy Tuberville, because even she, the ultimate, institutionalist along with Joe Manchin, were like, all right, Tommy, we've tried, man. We've tried to work this out with you, but this is absurd. And so that was the threat of the rule change, and even Republicans going back and saying, Tommy, they're going to change the rules on us, and we might lose our minority obstructionist power. That's what ultimately triggered Tommy Tuberville to throw in the towel. And
he now has this habit, the pro-military guy, I guess, of, as you said, first of all, going, no, I know better. I know better. The whole time that he was doing this, as you mentioned, military leaders, experts were saying, this is hurting our military readiness. Then it would cut to him and he would go, if I thought it was hurting our military readiness, then I wouldn't be doing this. Well, but people are saying that it is. Whatever.
But they're not me.
They're not me. But
they're not me.
I'm Tuberville, okay? I was a football coach, so what are you going to say about that?
Exactly.
And so that's number one. But then also, I guess a part of this really got passionate about just disparaging the military. And, if you have genuine concerns about and critiques of the military, go for it. He got on the woke train, okay? Oh, it's too woke. It's so woke. And now I hope, probably not, but his constituents, someone was paying attention and it can think, okay, clearly he doesn't have the respect that he tries to act like he does for those who serve, and is calling them weak because of this vague, meaningless attack. They're too woke. And I'm sick of the whole thing. Most stories, as you know, Josiah, don't really get me that riled up. This one does.
I'll say to your point, 60% of Alabama constituents, Luke, poll after poll, and this was reflected in the national polls as well. So 60% of the country and 60% of Alabama constituents of his state, said that he was doing the wrong thing with this hold. So he was up against Democrats, Democratic voters, probably independents and centrists as well, at least the majority of them, and not just Republican elected officials and military experts and veterans, but also his own voters. He wasn't winning anywhere with anybody. So before we go, Luke, do you want to shout yourself out?
Absolutely. Luke Beasley on YouTube. Find me there. And Josiah, it's just always a pleasure.
It really is, Luke. We have to do this again sometime.
Absolutely.